Now, we're moving from platforms to policy, from scale to sovereignty. Because the next leap in innovation won't be just technical. We all know that it is, of course, about governance. Without governance, we can't achieve that. In this next session, we will look into building borderless innovation ecosystems. We'll unpack how regulatory sandboxes can future-proof tech adoption, the role of public and private partnerships when it comes to funding and upskilling, and how SMEs can integrate into global value chains with the right digital frameworks. And we're honored to have with us His Excellency Abdulsalam Haykal, who is the Minister of Communications and Information Technology of the Syrian Arab Republic. He was appointed in 2025. Thank you very much. That's a huge round of applause. Yes. He was appointed in 2025 as part of Syria's new transitional government, and he's a global voice when it comes to digital transformation. And he's serving as an international advisory on several councils, including the UAE Arabic Language Advisory Council. And he is in conversation with Yasser Khan, the editor-in-chief of the Thomson Reuters Foundation, who launched and led the foundation's digital news platform, Context. So please give them a warm welcome, Yasser Khan and His Excellency Abdulsalam Haykal. Welcome!
Thank you for the very enthusiastic welcome. I can tell who the Syrians are in the crowd. I see you've brought your own cheerleading squad.
That's what politicians do. So
we
just
came out,
being true to mission.
We came out a little early because we heard clapping and we thought, that's it, they want us here. But turns out it wasn't our time yet. So thank you for clapping for a second time. Your Excellency, I'm going to jump right into the question since they've introduced the both of us. When you speak of Syria's digital rebirth, what does that vision look like in concrete terms? Are we talking infrastructure, talent, investment, or a complete rethinking of a digital economy? What are we talking about here?
Perfect. First, thank you for organizing this amazing session. Thank you for the very warm welcome. It's incredible to be in Dubai speaking on behalf of Syria. It's something that many of us in the room have done over the years. Syrians in the diaspora representing their country to the extent that they can, while the country was undergoing a transformation that led to the events of today. So I can't hear myself. Can you hear me clearly? Yes, good. You know, it's the first thing to know about Syria is that if we are going to download the future, we need to do this at the proper speed. And the average download speed in Syria today is 800K. So 800K is not really suitable for a country that has the ambition of the people of Syria, their entrepreneurship and their resilience. And what we need to do is invest in infrastructure. And this is what we've been doing for the past 6 months. The Syrian infrastructure has been designed for the year 2011. And in 2011, iPhone was probably 4 years old. Facebook was probably also around, as a global service, was around 4 or 5 years old. And the combination of smartphones and social media has changed the world. And in doing so, it has also increased consumption, individual consumption of the internet by 50 folds from 2011 until 2025. So we need infrastructure that is capable of actually carrying that level of need. And we don't have it. First, there has been underinvestment in infrastructure over these past 15 years, but also infrastructure has been destroyed during the criminal regime's war on the country. So we did two things. First, we wanted to build the backbone, a new backbone for Syria that can carry internet at high speed between major cities. And to be able to build it, that's going to cost probably $400, $500 million. We offered it as a public-private partnership. So the investor would come in, build the backbone for us, and against it, they will get traffic through Syria, south through Jordan, either Saudi Arabia or Iraq, out to the Arab Gulf, to the international cable system.
So could you please talk about what sort of partnerships, public-private partnerships, you are exploring in order for that infrastructure to happen?
So what we needed to do is unlock an opportunity that actually works for global investors. And in building our backbone, this is our own national interest. But Syria sits at an interesting crossroads. So if you look at the international submarine cables today, most of them pass through the Red Sea. And the Red Sea today carries 17% of global traffic and 90% of Europe-Asia traffic. So that has made it a single point of failure, whether it's for countries or hyperscalers. They need route diversity and they need better terms generally, whether it's the SLAs or other things. But also, the Syrian route, the Syrian terrestrial route, is shorter by 6,000 to 7,000 kilometers round trip. So that round trip time translates into 30 to 35 milliseconds. And saving 30 milliseconds in latency is significant. Just to put things in perspective, when do you feel a lag on your WhatsApp call? When do you feel the call is sluggish? At the 100 millisecond interval. When do you start complaining to your service provider that I have a problem with my connection? At the 250 milliseconds, so a quarter of a second would make people start complaining to ISPs. So Syria saves 30 to 40 milliseconds. That enables, let's say, a surgeon in London to operating on a patient in Riyadh and wanting the Da Vinci robot to respond immediately. Immediately means 10 milliseconds. If you're looking at the London-Singapore route, that's 20,000 kilometers round trip. If you save 6,000 through Syria instead of the Red Sea, that's 14,000 kilometers. So, I mean, I'm not going to go more into technical details, but Syria provides really an amazing alternative route that is great for investors. So, what I can tell you is that just last week, all the 5 major internet companies in the region were in Damascus presenting their final pitches for the SilkLink project, and we're going to start negotiating with one of them in about 10 days from now when they present the final proposals. And we expect that we'll be able to award the project around mid-November. So starting from there, we need about a year until we finish the western part of the country and Syria can carry traffic south, but also give Syrians the best internet out there. So that's going from 800K today to average speeds in the tens of megabits at least.
I wanted to pick up on that a little bit because, you know, I was up on the stage a couple of hours ago with Minister Al-Ulama, who is the Minister for AI for the UAE. And he was talking about how the Middle East is a blank slate and there's a potential to leapfrog over, you know, other more established players in the technology and AI game. And in terms of you guys, in terms of Syria as a connected nation, you have a blank slate now. What things are you looking at leapfrogging on? And you know, instead of going through the usual channels of building from A to B to C to D, what channels are you exploring to go from A to like X?
So yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is exactly our thinking now in at the ministry, but also across the government in Syria, is that we have a chance today to build for the future. So we use technology that is up to date. We use ambitions that match where the world is going, whether in terms of AI, government services, enterprise software, and the rest. This is what we've been working on. So in SilkLink, this is what we're providing in terms of being the connectivity hub for the world. And what comes with that is data centers, edge computing, presence for hyperscalers. And what comes with having hyperscalers in the country are their services and probably their engineering teams and so on. So we have inquiries today from companies that still cannot deal with Syria because of export controls, but still want to know where we expect SilkLink to be in 2030, because now they're making their plans for the next 5 years.
Exactly.
But what we want also to do is make a transition in two other infrastructure areas. The first is fiber to the home, fiber to the office, and this is something that we launched a pilot in Damascus today. We're going to launch a pilot in Aleppo. And there in broadband, and remember, I mean, Syria ranks in the bottom 3 in broadband connectivity,
That's
bottom
right.
5 in mobile connectivity in the world. And we're moving from an average 8K download speed to 1 gigabit per second each home in this pilot. Right. So we're moving, Syria has been used to leaping over challenges, but now we're really leaping into the future in terms of that speed. The idea is, can we do with less? Yes, I mean, generally you can do with less. But the question is that after all these years of suffering, and after all these years of depriving Syria, but also the region and the world of that Syrian talent, because Syria has been disconnected from the world, what could happen if people have that capability? What could happen if they have that kind of access?
What could happen?
A lot. So if you're going to rely on Syrian entrepreneurship and Syrian resilience, think about it this way. This is a country that managed to survive and sustain itself and continue to really provide the world with talent in spite of the government over many, many years, but also despite of the harsh circumstances that it has been through. Right. The one thing that we're trying in the government to do today is to restore Syria's mercantile character, that entrepreneurial spirit. The idea that we can exchange, the idea that we can build bridges, build partnerships, and so on. And Syrians are very good at this. So you're combining technical skill that Syrians have, like in India. You're combining this with deep commercial expertise and acumen. And now you're combining it with a global network. Part of it is, if you visit the Syrian pavilion now, powered by an organization called SYNC, that connects Syrian diaspora with our national needs and with Syrians inside, you will realize immediately what I'm talking about. So one thing that we're trying to do is bring connectivity first, infrastructure that is for the fixed connections, but also mobile connectivity. We are going to have a major transition in our mobile network over the next 3 to 6 months. And we're going to announce about really very exciting new partnerships there. But also what we want to do is enable people with the tools of the 21st century. Right. Whether enabling entrepreneurs to start their companies or citizens to use government services.
I wanted to ask you about that, especially for young Syrians, entrepreneurs and technologists. How do you see your government enabling innovation and productivity, like through regulation or access to funding or education reform? What is the strategy there? Because it's more than getting everybody broadband. I remember doing stories about how Syrian children had missed years of school. There's some very, very basic challenges. What is the game plan on that front?
So we have actually a unit at the ministry that looks after startups and innovation. We want to address it from several angles. The first one is legislation and regulation. Syria today is a very hard country to operate in. It's hard to start a company, it's hard to launch, it's hard to open a bank account. Part of that is due to American measures against Syria over the past few months. But this is, I think we are in the final stretch of removing these entirely. Some of them go back to the year 1979, due to Syria being classified by the US government as a state sponsor of terrorism. And that puts us even beyond the regular sanctions regime in a group of countries that only has 4 or 5 countries globally that have very harsh export controls. And those controls apply specifically to technology. Beyond that, what we want to do is reform legislation and regulation, make it easy for people to start, but also attract funding. Funding is crucial in a startup ecosystem. And you will find Syrians around the world part of funds and part of similar initiatives. And what we want to do in the country, and now we're working with the Minister of Finance on these, is regulation for venture funds, for funds of funds. And we are already in conversation with regional funds of funds to contribute to these funding mechanisms. We launched a Syrian Angels Network recently that has commitments of around $21, $22 million. And they deployed already $2 or $3 million in startups. We have incubators and accelerators because Syria has STEM universities in science and technology and math, and many of them have labs. So there are labs and universities. So one thing you can expect to come out from Syria is really deep tech startups. And this is something that you see today in the market. Expect robotics, expect advanced algorithms, because there is an accumulation of not only talent, but there is a heritage of building those ideas and exporting them, and now they're part of global tech to some extent. So how do we encourage more of that? How do we make it easier for people to actually go after their dreams and their ambitions? And how do we create an opportunity for funds to come to Syria and benefit from that opportunity of the Syrian market that is opening up, that is a partner to the world around it, and that benefits from the Syrian talent?
And do you have answers to those questions? How do you build that?
How
do you build that environment where funds?
So we're actively building it. So we have a government that is really collaborative in that sense. I work closely with the Minister of Economy, and because the registration of companies and the regulation around it happens in that realm, and it's under his purview. We're working with the Minister of Finance on several things. Now, you ask any minister in the country about what progress they've made and how well they're doing, and they'll point at us and they say we need the infrastructure first. So in terms of funds, I get to point to the Minister of Finance and tell we start there first. But really, there is some progress in that regard across government. Some things take time, because when you unravel a certain law, that will have impact on other areas. So the idea is that it's not only that it's hard to start startups in the country, it's hard to start companies generally. So you cannot really distinguish startups and have a startup act, for example, which is something that we propose already just to push the envelope. But you need to actually do it holistically as you approach how you set up companies in the country.
But at the same time, you also need to take along all of those businesses that existed pre-war who want to restart, right? Or people who have continued throughout the last 10, 12 years that are, the silk weaving businesses, the more traditional sort of legacy Syrian businesses. They would probably benefit from the level of connectivity that you're talking about as well, correct? Restaurants, food delivery, all those sorts of things.
Absolutely. So there are two things that we need to address quickly. First is what's called digital transformation, e-government. So we need those apps that people can use. It's inefficient for the government that people have to travel and wait in line. This is purely inefficient use of their time if you're looking from a government perspective. But also for the citizen, If you're talking about quality of life means that you do not travel for services, you do not wait in line, you do not wait, you do not pay speed money
Right.
for these services. And all of that is achieved through technology.
Right.
And we need to actually introduce these apps, and we're going to launch an app within few months. I mean, this is actually in progress now. That's number one. But the rest of the services, this is where entrepreneurs come in. Whether it's last mile, whether it's e-commerce, and so on. What we want to see in few years is a collaboration between Syrian startups and global businesses, whether the ones that are in the region, and many of them have been started by Syrians, and many of them are exploring ways to come back to the country. This is one thing that probably only if one is Syrian would appreciate. It's a unifying moment for Syrians like no other. I mean, many people have been waiting for this, have been anticipating this moment. It is an anticipation, a waiting that has been passed generation to generation. So for them to be living this moment, people are really coming forward with all their heart, all their mind, all their skill, and many times all their money to actually contribute to this moment. So we want to be able to accommodate all of that, give them a platform whereby they can actually rise and raise the country with them.
Minister, this was such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
But if you,
yeah, go ahead.
if you allow me, it's really important just to put things in perspective of if we're going to think of Syria 5 years. You told me you came in 2007, 2008.
Yeah, that's correct.
You're going to come now and you will see reality for what it is.
That's right.
And I want you to come 5 years later and then be a witness to every citizen having 4G or 5G connection, every citizen having access to broadband connectivity, probably 100 startups that raised $10 million each, 5 funds that has deployed $50 million each, and a country that is a partner to the world, a country that when the world looks at it, they say, this is a transformation that has changed not only Syria, but has changed the region around it and has changed, by virtue of that, the world.
Is that an official invitation?
Huh?
Is that an official invitation to visit Syria in 5 years?
It is an official invitation, and really see the Syrian courage on display. Why do I say this? Because, I mean, Syria can be equal with many other countries in many things. And it can be really behind many countries in many things right now. But one thing where Syria really stands out is the talent and the passion of its people and the courage. Syrians had the courage to revolt. Syrians had the courage to persist when the world stopped believing. And Syrians now are rebuilding, reimagining their country and having the biggest goals possible, that people look at us and say, why don't you think about just survival for now or just pure recovery? As you said, we can aim big. We have the capability to aim big. We are at the right moment to aim big, and we have the right partners to aim big. And that courage that Syrians had to change their own country, I hope will be looked upon one day, and people will say that Syrian courage also changed the region and probably the world.
This has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.